Welcome back to Earth Changes Radio, episode 15. In this episode, the admin, Our Daily Dose, is questioned about his escape from America to the Philippines. And now, while Rick Chicago is lost in the Rocky Mountains, the guest and co-host is Our Daily Dose with Steve Johnson, brought to you by the Terraforming Earth Network. Take it away, boys!
Well, a very big welcome back. Great to see everybody here for episode number 15, Escape from America. At the moment, Rick Chicago Earthplay is deep in the American wilderness and is finding his way back to civilization, and who knows what day, what time, what month he may come back. But in the meantime, we still have a show to do. It's good to see everybody here, all our regulars. Little John, Our Daily Dose, Jim, MW, good to see you. Ivana Beer, Lady B43, PDS 1984. It's good to see Susan Elizabeth, 24/7, Texman 2. God bless you, sir. Mr. Kenneth Kinte, how's things going? Desert Bloom, Desert Blossom, I beg your pardon. Solar Wind number 1, I Yammy there. Cosmic Dreamer, Jericho _12, Pinky Toes for you. Oh gosh. Endeavors, Benjamin 2011, and Miss Butterfox. Today's show is brought to you by Earth Changes Radio with the special guests and special sponsors of the Southwest Backpacker, of Mishkaites, an Organite creation. Do check them out on Facebook. And Big Whoop Magazine from BigWhoopMagazine.com. They're coming to you direct and live. And right now, we are going to have a very, very special show today. It is off our regular topics of politics and what's happening in the earth, on the earth, and around the earth. Today, we're going to investigate what it's like to escape from America, to get out of the rat race, to remove yourself from Babylon and remove yourself to a place of paradise where you can walk down the street and find yourself some free fruit growing in the jungle naturally, the way food used to be grown, the way people used to get food used to be to walk down the street and pick off an orange or pick off a mango or pick off some living and alive fruit from the jungle that is live and ripe and ready to go. I want to say a very big warm welcome and very thank you to one of our senior admins, Our Daily Dose. It's good to have your company with us, sir. It's good to be here today. You've stuck with the Earth Changes radio show for a while, and you've been with the Ancient Observatory for many, many years, and it's good to have you as an actual guest on the show today. How you going, sir? Our Daily Dose.
Well, thanks, Steve. I appreciate that very much. It's interesting that you should pick on me this way, and we shall see how it goes. Definitely on the food thing. I like that.
What was the biggest concern that you had when you first decided to get out of America, to escape from America, to move to somewhere else? What was the biggest thing you had to stop and think about? What was it? Why am I doing this? Was it, this is the move that I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Or what were there hesitations? Were you thinking about leaving the great America behind? What was it? What was going through your mind when you did the big move?
Good question. Golly, I thought about it for years, and all of those things. Money. You have to think about money. Got to eat, right? How about medical care? Got to think about those things. All of the typical things that everyone takes for granted in the United States. Is it out there? Is it out there? You have to consider that, for sure. But when it came down to it, in the end, I just wanted out. I really wanted out. I'd had enough. I was fed up. Got to get out of there. And so when I went, I didn't care if I lived or died. So the medical went by the wayside. The money, well, I didn't have much of that. So I just decided to take a chance. Really take a chance. My first move was to Puerto Rico, which is, I was just getting out of the United States and going someplace different, and I wanted someplace warm. But that was not going to be my last stay. I didn't think it would be, and it turned out that it definitely did not suit me. So I was looking for somewhere else. And loss of life. I have to come down to that. Because being a person who has never been to the other places before, you really have to consider that. It could happen that you might not make it through.
So what was your trigger moment that actually drove you to seek a new life outside the United States? What was it that made you want to escape from the USA? What was it exactly?
Well, it was all of the things that we complain about the NWO, actually, but my trigger moment. I was just like anybody else. Anyone else in the room that might have those thoughts, I was the same. I thought about it a lot, wanted to do it a lot, but didn't have the courage to do it. Okay? I simply didn't because of the unknown factor. But finally a time came where divorce came along. And boy, when that happened, I was gone. Very quick.
Did you say the voice came along? You had voices in your head telling you to get out of there? What exactly is that? Can you clarify that first, please?
Well, I had that too, yes. Definitely had voices too. I was trying to tell myself, go. Come on, fool, get out. But no, divorce, such as in marriage terminating. She filed for divorce, and today I still don't know why. I'll never know why, but I didn't care because it provided me an excuse. I finally had to tell myself that, have the courage, get gone, go, and I did. I went quick.
So let me get this straight. Before heading towards the Philippines, you stayed in Puerto Rico, but even before that, you'd married an American woman, you'd lived in America most of your life, you'd done the American dream, and realized it was nothing more than a fucking nightmare. So when the divorce came through, I guess she was an American wife, right? And you decided, well, a fresh start is what is needed. Is that how it happened for you?
Yeah, that's how it happened for me. It provided me, once that happened, once divorce came along, I realized that I had no more excuses. Because there was nothing to keep me there. And I was rightly and completely fed up. What's that movie, Fed up? We are fed up and not going to take it anymore. That's it. Anyway, I felt like that. I felt exactly like that. I just really wanted out, and I no longer had an excuse to stay. So why not have an adventure, right? I want an adventure. On very little money, and with not a whole lot of hope. I just figured I want to get out there and find out what the rest of the world is like.
That certainly sounds like the start of an adventure movie, and it sounds like you've lived your life as an adventurer. What was your first impressions when you first came to the Philippines, and how long ago was that?
That was 12 years ago. First impressions. How different it was. Narrow streets compared to the United States. Very crowded and trafficy. Wow, what else? I think the thing that struck me the most was the lack of signage. Strange as this might sound, the lack of signage. There is no set standard for signage. So if you're trying to find a store, or you're trying to find a street or whatever, you might not be able to find it because you're so used to in the United States or the Western world of looking at a particular level, which is roughly 7 feet off the ground, right? You're going to find the name and the direction or whatever to be able to get to where you want to go, and that wasn't there. The signs are kind of all over the place, and I think if you want to know the first impression, that had to be it. I didn't know where the heck I was or what the heck was going on. It's an entirely different world, especially the mindset and the behavior of the people. It is entirely different, and for most, I would say the great majority, it'd be very frightening. Actually, if you don't have a guide, you're lost.
Very, very interesting. What was the difference between the culture and the society, the community that you found in the Philippines? It would be quite frightening for anyone to move into a new country, a new place, completely new language, and of course, your first experiences would have shaped the way you have lived there. Can you give us a brief insight into what it was like experiencing a completely new culture that was almost alien, almost foreign to you, and how did you fit into that? How did you relate to that? How did you slide into that culture as an American, as an outsider, and first and foremost, as somebody who knows what's going on with the New World Order? Did you find yourself in a place that was lacking of all those signs and danger signs of the New World Order coming to our society?
Excellent and huge question. Which angle do I want to approach that from? Firstly, you have to have the right attitude. If you want to do something like this, you have to have the right attitude, or else you're just a tourist. You're going to stay at a big hotel in a protected zone of the city, and you've got a package, and you're just going to stay for a little while and leave. But if you intend to stay for a good long time, you're not in those particular places. So, yes, you have to be very careful. I approached it modestly. I just simply, at first, I didn't go very many places, didn't do very many things. I tried to learn from people that were nearby and just talking to them. I had a Filipina who was going to help me out, so I had a way to ask questions at least once a day and try to learn things. And you have to have an open mind. Absolutely, absolutely. No matter what country you go to. Even if it's Puerto Rico, for crying out loud, which is, a republic of the United States and not very much different from the United States at all, you still need to have an open mind because there's still a difference. And if you want to remain there, if you have the attitude and the desire to remain in that country for a long time, you're going to want to have an open mind and try to view things the way that they view them, to learn exactly where their mindset is. If you don't have an open mind and you don't have that attitude, well, of course you're gonna fail. You're gonna be out of there. You're gonna crash and fold one way or another because you just cannot succeed in the long run. And a lot of Americans do come here and try, but their heart isn't completely there. You really got to have your heart into it. They'll fail for one reason or another, or let's say that they just run into a period of time, whatever it be, a month or 2 months or whatever, where things just seem to not go in their direction. They'll give up their heart. They'll just, change their mind and say, it's better back home, I'm going home, and they do. They fail continuously. And as a matter of fact, I've never found another person that's done what I've done. Not in all the time that I've been here, which has been 12 years. Nobody's managed to succeed and stay. And I've done it under the most difficult of circumstances. I don't mean to be bragging. I mean to be pointing out the fact that your heart has really got to be in it. And my heart was in it.
Well, yes, sir. It certainly sounds like it. And we'll be taking audience questions after the first half hour. But, I do have one very, very serious question for you. When you started off just now, you said that you had a Filipino helping you, a Filipino lady helping you, a Pinay. Now, isn't it the truth that if you're a Westerner, or indeed if you're American or Australian or Canadian, and you're in the Philippines, they're going to look at you and they're going to say, he's got money. Now, how could it be that you've trusted somebody and you haven't realized that they're going to screw you over, or you've come to terms with that? How is it that you found somebody good enough and nice enough to live with without getting screwed over? Because every second Westerner in the Philippines is a target for money-hungry sharks that are out there. They're out there in every society, but in the Philippines especially. If you're a Westerner, you're going to get targeted. You're going to get pointed at. You're going to get looked at as go for him. He's got money. He's got a big house in the United States. How did you get around that stereotypical labeling that they put on you? And how did you present yourself as you're not like the tourists that are over there? Because I'm sure there's a stereotype. I'm sure there is a typical template of a Westerner who is there doing that sort of thing. We're talking to Our Daily Dose, the senior admin of the Ancient Observatory and the Earth Changes radio show. He's our special guest today, and I've got some very interesting questions for him about escaping from America and moving to the Philippines, and how did that all go down? How did you find someone that is so special in your life that you trusted so much with your entire future? How did you find that? That's what I want. That's what many people would like to know, and indeed, many people fail at trying to find that one special one that sounds like a Mills and Boon romance novel, but it sounds to me like you found it.
Well, I found it, but it took me years. Didn't have that when I first got here. When it comes to money, yeah. That's a double-edged sword, you know that, Steve? That's a powerful big question. Americans have been coming here, of course, for years to visit, and some with the intention of staying, but they don't make it. They usually start out going home for 2 months out of the year, and eventually they just go home and don't come back. But whatever. The money thing is because on first visitation to any country, I don't care what country, third world country that is, that you go to, it's hard to do the conversion. Okay, you got to convert to their currency, whatever money you have, to their currency, and it's not easy to do in your head all of the time, especially if you're excited tourist, you know, and you're trying to go here and there, or you're just plain busy with and overwrought with all of the newness, you know, and all of the many things. To try to do a conversion quickly and all that, say for a taxi driver or whatever, it's difficult at first. So Americans tend to just say, "The hell with it, I'm going to get out the credit card." Okay, or just pay it and keep on moving. In so doing, they teach the locals. See, it's a double-edged sword. They teach the locals that Americans will just pay anything. And so if you're an American such as I was, who knew my money had to go farther and it had to last because I intended to stay here for a long time, in that case, well, you just have to know. You have to learn how to do the conversions rapidly, and you've got to learn how to say no. Living here, how did I come to find peace? Well, I have a whole different approach to life than most, okay? I'm not afraid of typical things that you might believe that you normally would be afraid of. I decided after being here about 6 months that I didn't like the big city, so I wanted to go out into the province because I love nature. I wanted to go out there and find out what life was like out there. And I ended up traveling about to various provinces, and I'd find a home to it. Again, I had Filipino help me. That's female, Filipino is the male. I would have help and try to find a place to rent, and it didn't have to be much. Just I need to be able to eat and take a shower and just live life and learn. Number one, I knew I had to learn. My mind was open to learning, and I mean you got a lot of learning to do because you're going to find the fakes, right? You're going to find Filipino that are wanting to get as much money as possible and feed their family, and so they're going to try to get it from you because you're a walking dollar sign to them. And you've got the type that are going to be decent at the same time. You just got to be able to sway with the wind, go with it. But I traveled around and I tried different places, and I sampled the food as I went, you might say. I sampled flavors, the cultures, and tried to decide whether or not I wanted to stay in that particular area. And I learned a lot. I approach things differently in life than most. I think you're probably finding that out just listening to me speak. But I look at life in a whole different way. As far as that goes, I was like that in the United States. You have the same thing in the United States. If you travel from one place, say, 1,000 miles away or 1,500 miles away, you're going to find a slightly different colloquial society in that other area. So you have to be able to adapt, and you got to be able to observe. Number one thing is observing.
Well, sir, our Mr. Daily Dose, do stick with us. This is the Earth Changes Radio Show. This is episode 15, Escape from America, with our very special guest, the senior admin, Our Daily Dose. And we'll be right back with guest and audience questions after this short message break.
Hello, my name is Michael Kane, and you are listening to Earth Changes Radio on paltalk.com.
Hi, I'm Susan, and you're listening to Earth Changes Radio.
Hello, I am Inga from Sweden, and I am listening to Earth Changes Radio on paltalk.com.
With over 150 million registered users, Paltalk is the largest online chat community in the world. With over 300 Paltalk support staff speaking dozens of languages to help you enjoy your online experience. Meet new people across town, country, or continent while chatting about your interests. Sing live karaoke, listen to music, join a lively political debate, or play group trivia in one of thousands of chat rooms in various categories from your PC, your tablet, or mobile device. Joining Paltalk is free and easy. Go to paltalk.com and become part of our friendly community today.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and you're listening to... Oh, I forgot what it was, because it's me.
Hi, I'm Ruby, and you're listening to Earth Changes Radio on paltalk.com with Rick and Steve.
My name is MW, and I have found peace from horse shit.
It is, of course, 9:34, and in Australia, that means 4:20. Oh, fuck. We're back with episode 15, and of course with our very special guest, Our Daily Dose, who's a nice guy, who's done a lot of great stuff, and in fact has found a new life. What was it like living in the Philippines, Our Daily Dose? Did you really enjoy it that much? Are you really enjoying it so much that you would say you'd never, ever go back to America? Is it that good? Is it that much fun? Is it that free and open and fucked up with electricity cutting out all the time? I mean, dude, that doesn't sound like fun.
I had my moments, I got to admit, along my travel of trying to decide whether I wanted to stay or not. In fact, once I almost left. Came close. Losing electricity, well, the only place that's happened to me is right here on this island that I'm now living on. But it happened once, too, during a really powerful typhoon. Lost it for about 3 weeks there, but that's an interesting story in itself. The travels. Every place is different. Every province, I should say, is different. People in each province have a little bit different way of life, slightly different from another. It's interesting to go about tasting, and I guess that altogether it's been a really good experience, but just like anywhere else, there's good times, there's bad times, but the good times were absolutely fantastic. I should say, fantastic for me. Still are, but along my travel, they were very, very fantastic. To be able to just make that connection between myself and someone who is entirely different from me. That's something that's thrilling for me, because I expand my mind, I learn so much, and it's just something I totally enjoy. So, from big city to out in the country, I would say that the country people are the very best, and to be able to have that wonderful meal out on the beach. At nighttime when the ships come in, or the boats come in, some of them are as large as ships, but the boats come in and they bring a catch, and because they're happy that they made a large catch, they just build a fire right there on the beach, and all of a sudden you're invited, and they bring out these 150 pound to 300 pound fish. I mean, really big fish. and they start cutting it up and throwing slabs of meat down on the Barbie, Pretty amazing stuff, Steve. Really pretty amazing adventures. So there was good times, there was bad times, just like anywhere else. And altogether, it was great. And you led me to mentioning that I almost left. Yeah, I was not particularly fond of the main island here. Altogether, it didn't suit my clothes, so to speak. And I was leaving to go somewhere else, but I decided I was going to visit this island before I left. So, you see, even I became discouraged at one point. And I traveled to this island, and it was entirely different in the respect of cleanliness and so forth. Some of the things that were bothering me, let's put it that way. It was different in the things that were bothering me, that were causing me to be unrestful. And man, I saw that difference, and I decided that I'd hang around a while. And consequently, I didn't leave. And I've been here since 2007, which would make it, 10 years now, right? I haven't left, and I got married in the process, and I'm settled down with a nice family here, growing up, and I'm very much at peace at this point in time.
You did say earlier in your episode just there, you did say earlier that you were thinking about leaving the Philippines. What was prompting that? And yeah, a very good question, Butter. Did you miss your family that you left behind in the United States? What prompted you to leave the Philippines or to think about leaving? And surely you must have missed the family and friends that you've left behind in the United States. How's that worked out for you?
Well, when I first came, I was on the main island. If you want to look it up on a map, it's the island of Luzon. That's where the capital of Manila is. That's only one of over 1,000 islands. And I didn't care for it because of what we talked about earlier, and that was that I'm a walking dollar sign, and you get approached constantly by total strangers. They want to sell you land. They want to sell you their child. They want to sell you their motorcycle. They want to sell you just anything in order to, attain your money, some of your wealth, which I didn't have any. Oh, that's another thing is, as I said before, approach it humbly. I was humble. I was meager. I always just wear simple clothes and try to be not unlike the average person that in the locale that I'm in. So I was pretty disgusted with that, plus the fact that it's not a clean island, a lot of trash. They have no regard for that. But when I came to this island, all that was completely different. So that's what prompted me to stay. That's what encouraged me to stay and stick it out. And things have been good since then. Each of us have our own pet peeves, right? You might go to this island and not like it a bit because of particular things that you don't like. So I don't want to say that Filipino are terrible people or anything of that sort, and I don't want to sound that way at all. I'm just saying that those were the things that bothered me in particular, and they might not bother another person. And I wanted to adventure some more. But when I came here to this one island, I happened to like this one. And I've heard of American men that have gone to other islands and stayed for long periods of time. Very long periods of time. I'm sure that if you're willing, if you have the heart, you can make it home. It's not that difficult, really. Not if your heart is in the right place.
I've spoken to some very, very famous expatriates, including Henry Macau, who wrote the book A Long Way to Go for a Date about marrying his Filipino bride. Now, a lot of people have a lot of hesitations about going to the Philippines specifically because they know that if they're not careful, they can easily get ripped off. But wouldn't you agree that that's much the same in anywhere, in any location? And another question, what were the people like in your local community on the island where you live? Were they accepting of you at first, or were they hesitant? It's like, oh my God, there's a Westerner here, there's a white bread, a round eye. How did they react to you being in their local village? That's probably a more important question.
Well, that's a mixed metaphor too. In town, yeah, they're very accepting. No problem at all. Very accepting. They weren't pushy here as compared to Luzon. But me, I don't like cities. I don't even like towns. And I was looking for somewhere. Although I lived in town and right on the outskirts of town for several years. Excuse me. I gotta count my years here. Yeah, several years, I guess. Roughly 4 of them anyway. I didn't really want that. I wanted to be out in the jungle and out in nature, the woods, as you would say it. I wanted to be out in the forest. And once I put myself down and started forming roots out here, where I am now, no, they weren't accepting. They'd stare at you and wonder, what are you doing out here? You don't belong here. It's like a strange animal, coming into your neighborhood. Anyway, to be honest with you, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you exactly how hard it is. It took roughly 5 years to be accepted. And during that 5 years, I minded my own business. I stayed to home unless I went into town, but I didn't bother the neighbors. I just simply minded my own business, and it took 5 years. Because I'll tell you what, Steve, Americans have been coming here, and this is true for any other country, mind you. We're only using an example here now. I've been to other countries too. This is not the first one. Americans have been coming here for years, in particular here, and using and abusing the women. They come, like I said, with intentions to stay maybe, but they don't make it, so they just leave. They go back to the United States, leaving behind a woman, usually pregnant or with children, one or the other. And that's been going on since at least the Second World War. So Americans have a very bad reputation, and they make it very bad for someone like me. So I had to be incredibly patient. Like 5 years patient, okay? I want to commend myself for that. I want to brag about that, okay? I will brag about that. I stuck through it. And it wasn't easy. It's very, very difficult. I can't stress that enough. But you can do it. And it's a challenge. It can be very exciting working through that challenge. At least for me, these are the things that complete me in life, is being able to expand my mind, to learn more, and to make that connection with those other people. And it's been entirely rewarding. It's taken years, but it has very much been worth it.
Very interestingly, you said early in the interview that you left the United States primarily because you saw the rise of the New World Order. You saw the police state happening. You saw the introduction of new laws, new bullshit laws about our freedoms and about our privacies, and you saw the writing on the wall. How is it not different in the Philippines under Duterte? Is he not a New World Order stooge already? He's dealing with the Russians and the Chinese. These are the major leaders in world cyber censorship. And you're in a country that has a leader that is dealing with these kinds of cretins? I mean, really? Haven't you just jumped out of the frying pan into the fire as far as the New World Order is concerned? And are you worried about what Duterte is doing at the moment? Gunning people down for smoking cones in the street. Gunning people down for having a bong. That's bad, man. You can't do that. 420, motherfucker.
Good stuff, this one, Steve. I forgot to mention, I didn't leave any family behind in the United States, by the way. I forgot to address that in the last round. Those are all lies. And that's one of the things that scares me and shakes me so much, is being able to hear and see how the news is being misconstrued and being given to people of the United States completely wrong. We got the commercial right here on CNN Philippines. There's actually a CNN Philippines now. And the Nat Geo, National Geographic, has got a show running where they say that Duterte is responsible for doing exactly what you claim, or what you at least said there, Nephilim. The interesting thing is he's not. You got to understand that there are guerrillas here. You don't have guerrillas in the United States and so forth. You can't imagine what it's like. It's not an easy thing to deal with. And with those guerrillas comes drugs. How do they fund themselves? Well, they get their money by drugs, which was ruining this country. This country was, I think, second to the worst in the world, or something like that, way up there on the list on drugs and the danger of drugs in this country. And Duterte took the office, and all he did was tell the police to do your job. Now put that right out here. That's all he did. I swear to you, that's all the man did. And he said, if you have to kill someone in the process of doing your job, he was talking to the police, I will defend you. I will use, rights as president to defend you. And this is the only thing the man did. Mind you, this is a different country. Things are done differently. Now, here, if you're a policeman and you so much as push another person, you can end up in court, because a citizen has the right to take you to court even for something trivial, and they will do it, because usually it won't come to the trial will not ever be finished. Okay, it won't be finished because the policeman is going to bribe them with his personal money to try to end the trial, because that trial costs him a lot of money and costs him a lot of problems. It is very hard for a policeman to do his job here because of this. Now, they need to change the laws, and I know that they're in process of doing so, but the laws have not as yet changed. So therefore, Duterte comes along and says, do your job, and if you get into legal trouble, I will take care of you with my president powers. That's all this man has done, but the West is trying to make it look like he went out and ordered people to kill. Like he ordered the police to kill. That's not true. That's absolutely not true at all. And the police already knew where the drug lords were. They already knew where the drugs were being manufactured. But you see, before Duterte, they could not do anything about it. Okay? They couldn't do a single darn thing about it. Now, all of a sudden, Duterte says, do your job. Well, they already know where these guys are. They don't have a problem finding them at all. And these guys are bound and determined, with the millions coming in, that they are going to fight back with a gun. And yes, they're going to get shot. Prior to doing this, he just to enhance this even more, is he offered to anyone out there who is on drugs, addicted, or just using, either way, that they could have rehabilitation for free from the government, which meant the government built huge, and I do mean huge and extensive, dormitories for these guys. And they got to live in a place that was probably better than their home. Very nice facilities, and all they had to do was turn themselves in, put their name on a list, and take the rehabilitation. And they did, by the thousands upon thousands upon thousands. I don't know how many. And this went on for months, long before he simply said, no, it wasn't like FEMA camp, because you just go, it's above ground, and it's just another place to live while you do. It's a rehab, just like you have in any country, anywhere. United States especially, there's plenty of rehabs, but they're really expensive, right? These were free, absolutely free. And he did that before he said to them do your job. That's all he called for.
Well, sir, it's very interesting. You didn't mention anything about the New World Order. You didn't mention anything about Duterte's connection to that. I'm just wondering, have you, our daily dose, have you been speaking with the Russians at all? Because, I mean, you're not saying much. Really. Dude, come on.
Okay, sorry. It was a long answer. The second half of your question about the NWO. Well, he took office, and not too long after, one of the first things he did was tell Obama to go to hell. Literally, in those words, he told Obama to go to hell. And then they had the Asian Summit over here shortly after that, in which Obama did attend, and he wouldn't sit with them. He refused to sit with the man, which was another insult, okay? And most people would jump to the conclusion, oh my goodness, he just doesn't like Obama. But guess what? Within a few days after the summit was over, he went to China. He made negotiations and concessions with China for jobs and for building and infrastructure and etc. The thing is that he was really talking to the NWO, because when he took office and he had his war on drugs, is what it's called, the first thing the West did, the first thing the United States did was say that they were going to withhold their $200 million grant that they were going to give the Philippines if he didn't do what they told him to. If he did not obey them. Really, they said it right in plain words. And guess what? He told him to go to hell. He went to China. And guess what? China gave him $3 trillion right off. That's grown since then, by the way. It's bigger now. He went to Thailand. He didn't just go to China. He went to Thailand. He went to Malaysia. He went to Indonesia. He went to many places. And then he went to Russia. Now, I'm going to tell you right now that, Filipino are not, they are not knowledgeable about the NWO at all. If you start talking about the NWO to these people, they will just tune out because they can't understand what the heck you're talking about. This country is completely ignorant of it. They're not at all awake. And yet, here is a man who actually is. And yeah, he told the NWO to go to hell. Plain, flat, and simple. And he was just there again last week when he had to establish martial law in southern Mindanao. And he had to cut that visit to Russia short. But he did get the concession from them that they would give him top-notch, cutting-edge ships, Navy ships and so forth. The present now the stuff they use right now, they'll sell it to him. And whereas the United States, what do they give them? World War II leftovers. We still got PT boats out here in the harbor. I mean, I've been on boats. I've gone out there. There's PT boats that the Navy is using still. Old. We're talking old World War II relics that they usually use for making barrier reefs off Florida and so forth. Goodness sakes, it's all junk. And Russia is willing to give first-class, cutting-edge stuff. So, I hope I covered all of it. You're asking some very complicated questions. Neff, sorry to get sidetracked on you.
Well, sir, that's what Earth Changes Radio is all about. That's what we're all about. We ask questions to get to the heart of the matter about what's happening under the Earth, on the Earth, and above the Earth. Now, on the major island of Luzon, there's a number of major active volcanoes. Mount Pinatubo is one of them. There's a few more. I've been researching just recently about the volcanic activity in the Ring of Fire, which includes the Philippines' chains of islands. And it's very, very interesting, very fascinating to look into how people can live amongst a major volcanic icon sitting on their island next to their major city. It just blows my mind. But that happens because of populations and the way they want to assimilate and the way they want to move to certain areas. Now, this is quite fascinating. The fact of the matter is, I find your whole story intriguing and mind-blowing. But please do consider that a lot of people are listening to this show, a lot of people are listening live right now, a lot of Westerners who have no concept about what has been happening in the Philippines for the last 20, 30 years. It is in fact known that there has been a Muslim cell, there has been a jihadist CIA-backed asset within the Philippines. ISIS haven't just rocked up there on a boat and said, yeah, we're planting our flag here. Now, we're talking about ISIS, we're talking about the militant Islamic radicals. They have been there for many, many years in the Philippines. Is that not true? And is it not true that imposing martial law in a Southeast Asia country, that's not new? That happens every second week in some country, whether it be Burma, Myanmar, whether it be Thailand or Laos, or whether it be a region in China or a region in Hong Kong or a region in some other place, or Malaysia, or in any of these places, in Indonesia especially, that they install martial law and bring it back anytime they want. That's not an unusual thing, as they did in Mindanao just recently. Can you just confirm that for me, with the people here listening, that's imposing martial law is part of their everyday politics? That's the way they get things done and wipe out any issues that have to be done. Is that not commonplace in the Philippines especially?
Okay, I lost connection from Pal Talk there for a short. I heard the part about martial law. No, it's not an everyday thing. The last time martial law was used was in the Marcos era that I know of. However, it is very important in this case. Let me lock the mic here. Another thing that's going on is that after Duterte took office and was dedicated to getting rid of the drugs, which I told you, the money from those trickled back to the guerrilla groups. Once he did that, once he committed to the war on drugs, suddenly ISIS appeared in this country. Like within 3 weeks, suddenly there was ISIS. And I contend that it's funded by the U.S. CIA. And it is absolutely no wonder. Now that there is martial law there, they have actually confirmed that it really is ISIS, because there are fighters there that are from other countries that have absolutely nothing in common with the Philippines, by the way. And yeah, they're cutting off heads now, which has never been done before. All these things are going on, and I am contending, and I am saying to you, look out, because this is definitely coming from the West. It's not coming from the East. It is not coming from the East. Also, I saw a question earlier, do I have any neighbors that are Muslim? Yes, they're all around me. I have many friends that are Muslim. We get along just fine. But these terrorist groups, I wouldn't consider them Muslim, to be honest with you. Not from what I've been able to experience or see with my own being.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, Aldelidos. It's been fantastic talking to you, sir. It really has. It's been a wonderful interview, and I thank you. I thank you for filling in for Rick Earthplay Chicago, who is out there in the wilderness, and hopefully he'll be back with us very, very soon. This being the Memorial Day holiday in America, and of course around the world, we're all sending out prayers to Rick Earthplay Chicago that he returns safely, unless he's bear poo, butterfox. Well, unless he's actually, doing the things for humanity and getting out there and spreading the message. And of course, we hope for his safe return in Albuquerque, New Mexico, very, very shortly. We might even have a new episode tomorrow night, if he's back and if he's got stories to tell. We could always do with that, for sure. But I thank Mr. Al Daily Dose. Thank you, sir, so much for being the special guest today and co-host of the Earth Changes Radio Show. You've been fascinating, and indeed, I would like another story. I would like another episode to talk more about the political situations in Philippines, because we only just scratch the surface. Let's face it. I'm aware of Cory Aquino, of the Marcoses, of all the shenanigans going on in the United States through the Philippines by the United States. I'm aware of all the plays that they've done and the amounts of money that has been transferred, especially to Indonesia and countries like Malaysia, who basically said to the CIA, go fuck yourselves. And that's why a couple of Malaysian planes have gone down recently. But thank you so much, Daily Dose. It's been fantastic. It's been a great interview. And I thank you for your time, sir. God bless you. And please do say your goodbyes and preach the word about Earth Changes Radio, because we're getting out there. We're starting to make an impact. And thank you for being a senior admin in our room and taking care of the personal issues that people have in a chat room. God bless you, sir. Come back to the mic and say your goodbyes. God bless you, man. Look, I'm not gay, but, I love your work. I love your work. And that's as far as I'll go.
Well, okay, I will say my goodbyes, and thank you very much, Neff, for having that opportunity to set a few political things straight. Yes, you're right. Being able to see the political movements in other countries is not easy, and understanding them is even more difficult. And yeah, it's not like you see on CNN. No, sir.
Well, sir, Mr. Al Daily Dose, thanks very much for being a part of number 15 of Earth Changes Radio, which is, in fact, Escape from America, Part 1, the Philippines, featuring our special guest today, and our very special guest, who is our admin, one of our senior admins in the Earth Changes Radio show, Our Daily Dose. We wish him the best, and thanks for everybody for listening in. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you've found something out, and we'll have him back as a guest for sure. Thanks very much for listening. Take care, and bye for now.
Good question. Golly, I thought about it for years, and all of those things. Money. You have to think about money. Got to eat, right? How about medical care? Got to think about those things. All of the typical things that everyone takes for granted in the United States. Is it out there? Is it out there? You have to consider that, for sure. But when it came down to it, in the end, I just wanted out. I really wanted out. I'd had enough. I was fed up. Got to get out of there. And so when I went, I didn't care if I lived or died. So the medical went by the wayside. The money, well, I didn't have much of that. So I just decided to take a chance. Really take a chance. My first move was to Puerto Rico, which is, I was just getting out of the United States and going someplace different, and I wanted someplace warm. But that was not going to be my last stay. I didn't think it would be, and it turned out that it definitely did not suit me. So I was looking for somewhere else. And loss of life, I have to come down to that. Because being a person who has never been to the other places before, you really have to consider that. It could happen that you might not make it through.
So what was your trigger moment that actually drove you to seek a new life outside the United States? What was it that made you want to escape from the USA? Decided, well, a fresh start is what is needed. Is that how it happened for you?
Yeah, that's how it happened for me. It provided me, once that happened, once divorce came along, I realized that I had no more excuses. Because there was nothing to keep me there. And I was rightly and completely fed up. What's that movie, Fed up? We are fed up and not going to take it anymore. That's it. Anyway, I felt like that. I felt exactly like that. I just really wanted out, and I no longer had an excuse to stay. So why not have an adventure, right? I want an adventure on very little money, and with not a whole lot of hope. I just figured I'm going to get out there and find out what the rest of the world is like.
That certainly sounds like the start of an adventure movie, and it sounds like you've lived your life as an adventure. What was your first impressions when you first came to the Philippines, and how long ago was that?
That was 12 years ago. First impressions. how different it was. Narrow streets compared to the United States. Very crowded and trafficy. Wow, what else? I think the thing that struck me the most was the lack of signage. Strange as this might.
What was it exactly?
Well, it was all of the things that we complain about the NWO, actually, but my trigger moment. I was just like anybody else. Anyone else in the room that might have those thoughts? I was the same. I thought about it a lot, wanted to do it a lot, but didn't have the courage to do it. Okay? I simply didn't because of the unknown factor. But finally a time came where divorce came along. And boy, when that happened, I was gone. Very quick.
Did you say the voice came along? You had voices in your head telling you to get out of there? What exactly is that? Can you clarify that first, please?
Well, I had that too, yes. Definitely had voices too. I was trying to tell myself, go. Come on, fool, get out. But no, divorce, such as in marriage terminating. She filed for divorce, and today I still don't know why. I'll never know why, but I didn't care because it provided me an excuse. I finally had to tell myself that, have the courage, get gone, go, and I did. I went quick.
So let me get this straight. Before heading towards the Philippines, you stayed in Puerto Rico, but even before that, you'd married an American woman, you'd lived in America most of your life, you'd done the American dream, and realized it was nothing more than a fucking nightmare. So when the divorce came through, I guess she was an American wife, right? And you just, it is off our regular topics of politics and what's happening in the earth, on the earth, and around the earth. Today, we're going to investigate what it's like to escape from America, to get out of the rat race, to remove yourself from Babylon and remove yourself to a place of paradise where you can walk down the street and find yourself some free fruit growing in the jungle, naturally, the way food used to be grown, the way people used to get food used to be to walk down the street and pick off an orange or pick off a mango or pick off some living and alive fruit from the jungle that is live and ripe and ready to go. I want to say a very big warm welcome and very big thank you to one of our senior admins, Our Daily Dose. It's good to have your company with us, sir. It's good to be here today. You've stuck with the Earth Changes radio show for a while, and you've been with the Ancient Observatory for many, many years, and it's good to have you as an actual guest on the show today. How you going, sir, Our Daily Dose?
Well, thanks, Steve. I appreciate that very much. It's interesting that you should pick on me this way, and we shall see how it goes. Definitely on the food thing. I like that.
What was the biggest concern that you had when you first decided to get out of America, to escape from America, to move to somewhere else? What was the biggest thing you had to stop and think about? What was it? Why am I doing this? Was it, this is the move that I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Or what were there hesitations? Were you thinking about leaving the great America behind? What was it? What was going through your mind when you did the big move?
Welcome back to Earth Changes Radio, episode 15. In this episode, the admin, Our Daily Dose, is questioned about his escape from America to the Philippines. And now, while Rick Chicago is lost in the Rocky Mountains, the guest and co-host is Our Daily Dose with Steve Johnson, brought to you by the Terraforming Earth Network. Take it away, boys!
Well, a very big welcome back. Great to see everybody here for episode number 15, Escape from America. At the moment, Rick Chicago Earthplay is deep in the American wilderness and is finding his way back to civilization, and who knows what day, what time, what month he may come back. But in the meantime, we still have a show to do. It's good to see everybody here, all our regulars. Little John, Our Daily Dose, Jim, MW, good to see you. Ivana Beer, Lady B43, PDS 1984. It's good to see Susan Elizabeth, 24/7. Texman 2, God bless you, sir. Mr. Kenneth Kinte, how's things going? Desert Blossom, I beg your pardon. Solar Wind number 1, I Yammy there. Cosmic Dreamer, Jericho _12, Pinky Toes for you. Oh gosh. Endeavors, Benjamin 2011, and Miss Butterfox. Today's show is brought to you by Earth Changes Radio with the special guests and special sponsors of the Southwest Backpacker, of Mishkaites, an Organite creation. Do check them out on Facebook. And Big Whoop Magazine from BigWhoopMagazine.com. They're coming to you direct and live. And right now, we are going to have a very, very special show today.